morning. My name is Richard Wexler, and this is Caring in America, the podcast for caregivers and care recipients. A little reminder, folks, as I do on every episode, who am I and why am I doing this? Go back about 19 years now. I'm minding my own business in the software industry, married later, two small children, 11 and 7, all four parents still with us. And in the summer of '05, the phone starts ringing. Each parent, all four, are now getting seriously ill. Our life takes an immediate change. We start an adventure of caring for them, which will last 14 years until the last parent passes away at 96 in 2019. Go back about 16, 17 years, realized I could barely spell the word care, and realized I needed to really understand that with our new adventure. Left what I was doing in the software industry, started my company, Points of Life, started reading everything I could get my hands on about this subject matter, eventually started talking and teaching people about aging and care around the country. And then about a year ago, as I was pushing 70, decided I still want to do this. Can I do it in a different vein? Was told, hey, young man, think about a podcast, which I did. And our guest this morning doesn't even know this, but this is going to be our 50th episode. So I'm pretty proud of that. So we do have a special guest, and I would like to start introducing him. Brian has been serving the real estate needs of his clients since 2003, working with both home buyers and home sellers. He ranks in the top 1/2 of 1% of all Berkshire Hathaway home service agents nationwide. Brian specializes in guiding seniors who are transitioning from their homes and into smaller homes or senior communities. Realizing that these clients typically need additional levels of service, he has partnered with other professionals who make the process simpler for his clients. He's the director of the senior division of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services California Properties, and currently serves on the boards of two local nonprofit organizations who are dedicated to improving the lives of seniors. When he is not serving his clients, he enjoys spending time with his wife and their four combined children, hiking and watching sports. Brian, are you there, sir?
I am, Skip. Thank you. And I think I need to update that because I haven't been on a hike in a while. So I either need to update my bio or I need to get out there and hike again.
Go hiking, young man. Go hiking. I
Yes.
mean, you live in a horrible place. Tell our
Yeah.
folks where you live.
I live in awful, dreary San Diego, California.
Yeah, I was there many, 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 many moons ago. I mean, what is it? 70 like it always is about this time of year? What's your temperature right now?
Well, the joke is 72 and sunny, and there are four distinct seasons in San Diego: early summer, summer, late summer, and next summer. But actually, it's a little cloudy right now. We're getting our May gray a little early today.
There you go. I remember when I lived down there, this is about 50 years ago. I actually got tired of not being able to put like a sweatshirt on or a jacket on. And when I went back to Northern California, it was like, wow, I can actually put something over this t-shirt and these shorts that I seem to be constantly wearing in San Diego.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you do, why you do it. You are a senior real estate specialist. What is that? What do they do?
Yeah, so it's a designation through the National Association of Realtors. We kind of shorten it to SRES, and essentially, uh, it it's a designation and some education, of course, that goes along with it that helps us um, do a better job of serving seniors when it comes to their real estate needs, and also I add on and their families as well, because in many cases our clients aren't just doing it alone, but they have their family or friends involved. So we get a little bit more education and insight into the different generations, the silent generation, the greatest generation, and so forth, what their needs and wants are when it comes to transacting real estate, but also what other resources are needed when it comes to serving this population. Because typically when it comes to the real estate needs, there's other needs that go along with it that we can provide that a quote unquote regular real estate agent wouldn't know of or have access to.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What I always like to do sometimes is make up scenarios, and let's make up. We'll call her Ruth. She's 83. She still lives in the family home in, we'll pick an area, Pacific Beach. Her kids were raised there. Her husband has passed, so she's on her own in the home. As I said, she's 82. So when you think about that scenario, and first of all, is that scenario someone, first question I'll ask, is that scenario someone that you might possibly work with?
Absolutely. I mean that is the norm. Typically, it's a couple if it's earlier and maybe going more for independent living, but a lot of times it's a widow or widower. I've helped both, and like you said, lived in the there's she's still in the home that she's been in for 30, 40 years, raised her kids, and now it's time, that something else needs to happen for the next chapter.
So she may be thinking, she may have a couple thoughts. I need to sell this house. It's bigger. My kids were raised here. I don't need that much square footage anymore. I want to move to a smaller home. I want to move to a condo. I want to move to a townhome. Or, like you just said, and I want you to talk about this, she may be thinking, maybe like some of my friends, it would make sense to move to a senior community. Again, does that scenario sound correct?
Absolutely, 100%. You know, the family home that we needed back then, we don't need anymore. And in fact, it's interesting. A study was done by UCLA where they followed people in their homes for I believe a year to see where they spent the most time, and people were not spending time in the living room, dining room, or other bedrooms other than the master, and so it becomes something they don't need anymore and overwhelming to maintain. Several of my clients just can't do the gardening anymore that they used to. Physically, it becomes more of a challenge, and so they start thinking about, okay, well, what does the next step look like? Whether it is, like you said, a townhome or a condo, or maybe an independent living situation where they know their care needs will increase over time, and to be somewhere where they can be around others, have socialization, which is key, especially for seniors who don't have their kids around anymore, and if they don't have a spouse. Socialization is critical for the health and well-being, because I've seen it where they have been sort of socially isolated by staying in their homes, and they say it's like smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day to your
Wow.
health,
Wow.
and so that's important. So I'm a big advocate of senior living, but yeah, they look around and they say, I don't need the house, I don't need all this stuff, but it becomes overwhelming. How am I going to deal with it? How am I going to sell the home? How am I going to deal with all my stuff? How am I going to make a move? And without knowing what resources are out there, like myself and others, a lot of times seniors just sit, I'm just going to stay. It just becomes too much. And that's not the right answer. Something else, needs to be done. And that's where people like I come in.
So let's take the scenario a little bit further. So there's a few kids. Let's say one of them is a son. He lives elsewhere in the country. He calls up mom and says, Mom, you know, from my time in San Diego, I know some realtors that are out there. Let's call one Larry. Let's call one Mary. But they're both of those realtors are not senior real estate specialists. So as you were kind of talking about why, yeah, you want to follow the son's guidance, but maybe not. Why is it important to work with a real estate person with your knowledge and background? What else do you bring to the party?
Sure. And let me first say there's a lot of great agents out there who are not SRES designees and can probably do a good job with the sale of the home. I think the differentiator for me anyway, and most SRESs, and I've been working with seniors for 7, 8 years consistently, is sort of the understanding of what this will mean to our client. It's an emotionally and physically difficult transition for them. And so it's not just about the sale of the home. It's about leaving, sort of the lifetime of memories that are in the home and the fear of where the next chapter is going to be and what that means for them in their life cycle. So, sort of understanding those things. Again, I've not been there, myself, but I've seen it with clients, so I can help sort of coach them along and assure them of how the process will go and how we can make it easier for them. And then it's bringing in other resources. There's a whole industries that support seniors in this stage of life. Senior move managers, who most people don't even know exist,
Sure.
who are there to help seniors with that transition from floor planning for their next home to helping them make decisions on what they're going to keep and not keep, getting them packed and moved and then unpacked, dealing with the stuff that's left behind. The overwhelming part, or part of the overwhelming part of this process, can be taken off of our client's plate. And, again, there are some great agents out there who are not SRES designees, but they wouldn't necessarily have access to that or be able to bring in those resources that can make the transition much easier. And again, having, you know, the empathy of understanding how the process will go and being able to assure them that it will be all right.
That's some great information and taking this scenario a little bit further. So I was down there living in a small apartment in Pacific Beach 50 years ago. So Ruth and her husband, who has passed, in this scenario that I'm making up, they bought their home back in the 70s, 50 years ago. That's a long time to be in a home.
Yeah.
And as you're talking about, there's probably a lot of things that Ruth and her family are going to need as I think you use this word stuff. I mean, we accumulate a lot of stuff
Hmm.
over that amount of time. And what are we going to do with it? What are we going to keep? Is she going to a smaller place at 82? Maybe, maybe not. And what stuff is she going to keep if she's moving to a beautiful assisted living? And there are many in the San Diego area. What stuff is she bringing with her then? Something you see with your clients, Brian?
All the time. I would say 98.5% of the time. Um, in some cases, uh, I have clients who aren't attached to their things and make very quick decisions. And they say, you know what? I know I don't need it. I know it's important to me. And boom, 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 and I can get through it. And that's great. It's rare. Most of the time, it's that overwhelming, feeling of how am I going to make those decisions? Everything has value to them emotionally,
Sure.
and in a lot of cases, financially. They paid X amount of dollars for those collections of things that unfortunately are not in demand right now. So understanding that, whereas they spent a lot of money on these collections, they're not going to get that money back, and that's a whole other discussion to have. Um, if there are family involved, that's great. And I always encourage, our clients to give their their loved ones the things they want to give them now to see them enjoy it. But unfortunately, a lot of times those kids don't want it either. China may have a lot of value emotionally to our client, but their kids, may have their own set of China and aren't even using that. And so there can be some difficult conversations, with our clients. And again, we just kind of walk them through it and talk them through it. Uh, Eventually, they get there. Uh, there are some cases where it just becomes overwhelming and they can't make those decisions. And, we can try to help as best we can. But yeah, there's a lot to have to go through. And a lot of people have a lot of stuff. So that is definitely a huge component of it.
Again, some great information. And I think of scenarios I've even seen, and maybe you've seen as well, where we have the 50-year-old son, the one that gave mom the advice about Larry and Mary, that's now living in Denver and wants to fly back home because he realizes that first glove from Little League
Mhm.
is still somewhere in the closet.
Yeah.
And he would like to have that. Or the daughter, the first Barbie doll that she ever got is still someplace in the house, and she would like to find it. So I love the fact that when necessary, and I understand exactly what you're talking about, it is important to bring the family in. And then are there other professional groups that you'll work with as well, whether mom's moving to downsize or whether mom's moving to a senior community?
Absolutely. So we have the senior move managers that provide those resources of the sorting and the packing and the moving and the unpacking. And they're going to be a huge help. There's a whole industry of placement professionals who can help with helping the person decide where to move to if it's a senior living community. They sort of do what a real estate agent does when they're helping a buyer find a home, but for senior living, because they understand where all the communities are, what they offer, the financial situations, the types of rooms they have, and amenities they have, which can be amazing. And so they can help with that process. We have people who can do estate sales, and we have people who can do clear outs, for the stuff that's left behind. There's a lot of different components. And then, there's some legal things. If someone's moving, they may need to change and update their trust. Maybe they have to update their Medicare because they're moving. Their financial situation now, they're going to have a lot of money now from the sale of a home. What are they going to do with it? How are they going to, invest it to maintain their lifestyle for the rest of their life so they don't outlive their money? So all of these people, sort of the ecosystem that we bring in to provide support for our clients, so they feel more comfortable and more secure in their decision and in the process.
Again, fantastic information. And like I know a lot of times if Ruth is moving to a senior community, the funding of that community may come from the proceeds of the house. But again, working with the right financial people, making sure it's invested properly, making sure the estate plan is put together, all of those things. These are wonderful services that you get tied to that you can bring to a homeowner like Ruth. And folks, there are folks like Brian all over the country. It's something you may want to think about. If you're the adult child, if you're the senior, you're thinking about moving both from a counsel perspective, what should we be doing, where should we be going, but also from all the pieces that Brian's talking about. So, like, what do you really like about working with seniors?
You know, Seniors built this country. I kind of, laughingly say, I grew up in LA. I moved to San Diego. I went to college, and here I am working. My journey is fairly simple compared to a lot of my clients who I work with. I have a client who, escaped Nazi Germany,
Wow.
and I got to hear his stories. I've had clients who were the first, at certain things, the first female dancer in a certain place. Physicists, who helped create things like the San Onofre power plant. I mean, so many amazing people who've done so many amazing things. They are the people who built this country,
Wow.
and I love hearing their stories, and I want to honor their process. This is likely going to be the last move they'll make, and again, that's why it's physically and emotionally uh, challenging, can be daunting, overwhelming, and I want to make sure that this process for them uh, is as good as it possibly can be and a positive one. So they can look forward to that next chapter. Nothing makes me feel better than seeing how well they're doing in that next place that they're living in, how they're adjusting, how they're adapting, how they're growing and enjoying. And it's fantastic. And to your point, real quick, about other SRES designees throughout the country, it's National Association of Realtors is a nationwide organization, and there are designees all over. And I started our senior division at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services California Properties because I wanted us to be the best of the best, provide training for our SRES designees within the company. So we have 50 agents in the division throughout Southern California.
Wow.
And eventually I want to grow that so that all of the Berkshire franchises have a senior division. I call us the Green Berets of seniors real estate specialists because we can always be upping our game and providing even better quality service for the people we serve.
That's fantastic. I mean, you and I both know that seniors face a lot of issues. Sometimes those issues are created because of issues they have physically as they age or mental issues, emotional issues. This is fantastic information for our listeners, Brian. I know one of the organizations that you're tied with, I believe you're a board VP, is called ElderHelp of San Diego. Could you tell our audience what that is, what ElderHelp does?
Absolutely. So, ElderHelp is an organization, and we are just now celebrating, I believe it's today, that the day we're recording this, or right around now, our 50th anniversary.
Wow.
And we were founded by a group of women in a church basement, and we now have offices. We're countywide, and we are an organization that helps seniors stay safe and independent living in their own homes. I kind of joke that professionally, my job is to help seniors sell their homes and move. But philanthropically, I'm on the board of an organization that helps them stay home. So I can kind of cover both ends of things for my for what I do. But it's a wonderful organization. I was exposed to it a few years ago and love their mission, love what they do. I enjoy serving on the board, it's they really help seniors with grocery shopping, or they have a home share program to match seniors with either other seniors or people who have homes with empty rooms. Uh, Care management, transportation,
Wow.
so many services that are available for seniors, and a lot of seniors need those services. Not everyone lives in the home they've lived in for 30 years and has a ton of equity. There's a lot of seniors out there who are living social security check to social security check, living in an apartment, and don't have the funds for a lot of things that we need. And San Diego is not a cheap place to live. And so it's a blessing to be able to provide those services for them through ElderHelp.
We'll make sure we give that contact information in a few minutes. That is wonderful information, and it sounds like this organization is county-wide. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So, and I'm sure people sometimes are communicating with them from other parts of the country because mom or dad still live, or grandparents, whomever it may be, still live in the San Diego region. And as we kind of get close to wrapping up, one thing I do want to do is make sure you give out contact. Brian, can you give your full name, give any contact information, website, email, phone number, how to get in touch with Elder Help, whatever you'd like to give out?
Absolutely. So for myself, it's again Brian DeVore, BryanDevore. I have one of the easiest phone numbers to remember. It's 760-908-3838. My web address is www.devorerealtygroup.com. And you can go there, you can watch videos of my clients and their experiences and their journeys. I record something every week. I do my own sort of podcast and video series called the Brian DeVore Connection that has a lot of great videos and resources, and you can see that on my website. I also do a Monday market moment every week with a market update. So all that's on my website. Elder Help is www.elderhelpofsandiego.org, and that's the best place to go to find all the resources that people might need through them.
Perfect. Folks, this is a lot of information. And as Brian talks with folks like himself around the country, when you're at this stage of life and you're thinking about maybe buying, selling for all the reasons that we talked about, and you are in that senior age group, I mean, someone that is a senior real estate specialist, someone you really want to think about connecting with, and all the information, all the connections that they have. And as I say on every episode, folks, if you want to get in touch with me, you have a comment, you have a question, you're somebody in the industry, you'd like to be on the podcast, please reach out to me at eldered2023 at gmail.com. So, once again, I want to thank Brian, and as I do on every episode, folks, until we talk again, have yourself an awesome day.